That's David Duchovny's new music video, Stranger in the Sacred Heart, and we are joined now by the musician, actor, novelist, director, David Duchovny himself. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having
You
us.
do everything.
Yeah? And you were commenting beforehand, you got the little mime thing going?
I've got to stop doing that.
No, it works. It works for the vibe.
It can add mime to the list of things that I do.
Of all those accomplishments. Before we get into it, I think that there are a lot of people, fans that are learning still that you are a musician and that you're releasing music, doing all of it. But this is something that for you goes all the way back, in terms of your love of music, all the way back to your father, doesn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, just my childhood. And my father was a lover of jazz. He had a reel-to-reel tape that he would play, every weekend, just listening to jazz all the time. I'm not a huge jazz fan, but my brother is 4 years older than me. He had great taste in music, and he was really the one that kind of introduced me to rock and roll. And I'm lucky that he had good taste. Yeah,
it kind of plays in here to "Stranger in the Sacred Heart." It's a song you wrote it touring in Europe. You were in Paris. You're at a basilica, right, and a place that connected back to where your father had died about a decade before that. So there's the spiritual aspect to all of that, the sort of revelation you had there. Right. Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm not necessarily an institutionally religious person, but I was staying in Montmartre there, and they have the Basilica of the Sacre-Cœur, the Sacred Heart. The kind of nature of this particular church is that the people that go in there and pray, they pray for kind of the world in general, and I was kind of, thinking about American religion or whatever, where you're praying for your car, you're praying for your house and stuff like that. And I was like, well, this is a beautiful tendency to pray for people you don't know. Being in Paris where my father died, I kind of felt a little shut down or a little sad, and then this kind of opened me up a little bit. So it was kind of both those movements within a person that kind of came together in the song, I guess.
I love that.
Yeah, and your song Jericho is also about your relationship with your father. Yeah. What was your relationship with him like? And then also, how did becoming a dad maybe change that, if it did?
Yeah, it changes,
About everything?
Yeah, I mean, you let go of so much stuff because you're like, this is impossible. No wonder we all make mistakes, right? So my parents split up when I was about 11, so I probably didn't get as much of my dad as I wanted, as a kid. So there was always that kind of hunger for him. And that comes out in both those songs, I think.
Yeah, we keep going down the list there. Half-Life, and you've described that in many different terms and some scientific things, but ultimately it being about divorce in some way.
Well, I mean, like literally, I mean, you can think about, you split things half and half. So I don't like the idea of my songs being confessional or specifically personal in any way. And I know that goes against kind of the way we digest popular culture at this point in music, but that's my personal style. And so I try and make whatever specific or personal experience I've had, I try to cloud them enough and make them universal so that anybody can listen to a song called Half-Life and feel that it's about losing something, feeling like you're half a person, and then moving on in a way.
When you're on stage, you're performing these songs that have these really personal, heartfelt places of origin, at least. What's the vibe for you? Is that an emotional experience?
Sometimes it surprises me. Sometimes I'll be in the middle of a song and I'll start to understand what I'm saying, almost for the first time.
You posted this really great photo on Instagram of you and your 19-year-old daughter now, but she was a baby. She's acting now. Yeah. Just was last March, in an episode of X-Files. Yeah. Which was it kind of this full circle?
Well, I was very nervous.
In the new X-Files.
I was very nervous. Not necessarily that she was in the show, but just that she was going to be on set and acting. And so I was way more nervous than I've ever been for myself. I was actually just telling this story with her the other day, and I saw her do one take, and I was like, she's fine. I'm leaving.
Wow.
She said, yeah, you left. I was like, yeah, you didn't need me. You were on your way. My son is a pitcher, and it's like, I'd rather be pitching. I'd be less nervous if I was pitching. Plus, I'd be playing against high schoolers, which would give me
You do really well.
But speaking of X-Files, were you surprised it came back, has such a good response? And do your kids fully understand what a big moment this is? Because you kind of started on it, and now they don't get it.
No, they don't care. That's fine. I don't need them to be impressed or proud of me. I would rather be impressed and proud of them.
You know how the Hollywood game works. You know what it's like to be on a set and all those types of things. Was there a piece of advice that you gave your daughter when going into that environment? How to protect yourself?
I don't know if I gave it
nail
to her.
it? And
I said be on time and listen and be professional and be nice to everyone. It's basically the things that you can control. The creative stuff is reliant on the vicissitudes of the day, and whether you're hot or you're not, and if you're not, you got to get hot, so all that stuff just comes with technique. But the stuff that you can control, which is being a decent human being and treating people well, and you can do that every day. She's just such an impressive kid to me, or young adult, or adult, or whatever. I'm sure I just ruined everything.
All right, let's talk about this. You wrote 3 best-selling books. Of all the things that you do, so musician, actor, author, everything, what makes you most uncomfortable and is hardest for you, and then what are you most comfortable doing?
That's a good question. I mean, in terms of discomfort, because that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
It's really hard to sit down and write every day. It's uncomfortable. It takes a lot of discipline because nobody's asking me to write. If I got up and never wrote again, the world wouldn't be weeping and they wouldn't say, why don't you get back? So I have to do it to myself. I got to sit down. That's hard because life is going on outside, and I want to go outside and play like the rest of the kids. Music, I think at one point early on, I can get very nervous singing live, because I'm not like Mr. Pitch. I'm sure they would judge me on American Idol. Little pitchy dog.
Little pitchy dog. Yeah.
And acting, as much as I've done it, there can be days where I get tight.
Yeah.
So that's kind of your job, is to figure out what's going on and work through it.
I've always kind of thought that maybe one of the most fulfilling things as an artist would be to be a musician on stage. You stop singing, and that crowd starts singing those lyrics back, and you remember the moment when you were sketching it down. It kind of came to you. That's got to be a real fulfilling moment.
Well, that happened in Europe. Last time we were in Europe, and not even in their native language. So that was really, really cool. I see it as a time where I can stop singing and just hold the mic out there. I take a little break.
Pre-show jitters. What do you do? Like pre-game before you go out on the stage?
Probably have a drink.
Yeah.
I hate to say it.
What's your drink of choice?
It's not cheating.
I like tequila, but usually I try to stay healthy when I'm touring. So I tell myself a screwdriver is a healthy drink.
Oh yeah, the juice is in there.
Right? Vitamin C.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for being here. It's great to talk to you. If you're watching from across the pond, you're in luck. You can see David Duchovny performing live in Europe next month and get David's album at davidduchovnymusic.com. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.